Hi, it's Dwyer. May 12th, 2023. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. This video is for speculators only. For people who take high-risk bets with an expectation that they might lose, but they understand, looking at the numbers, that things could break their way and the market is mispriced. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now let me repeat what I said earlier. This is really for speculators. I'm going to mention some bets here that I don't expect to win, right? Some of the bets here can't mathematically all hit, right? This is just for people who understand that sometimes a market's mispriced and that you can get great value, an obscene risk reward, because the market is mispriced. So, we recently found out what we've been discussing here. We've gotten validation for it. The best center in the National Basketball Association is not the MVP, Joel Embiid. Joel's a great guy. Joel's an immigrant like I am. I'm a fan of Joel Embiid's, right? But the way he won the MVP was really political, right? People like Mark Jackson from Queens, New York City, where I'm from, right? Didn't even have Joker on his ballot, right? You understand, crowds sometimes make mistakes. Sometimes the crowd gets together, whether it's in influencing a betting spread or in a political award like the NBA MVP is now. A crowd will get together and they'll say, this guy is a great guy. This guy's an ambassador for the sport, right? We want to spread the wealth. He plays in a hardcore NBA city where when Dr. J walks down the street, everyone remembers him, even though he hasn't played for decades. Right? Well, just understand, if you're looking at the NBA Finals MVP, you're going to find tantalizing lines that, quite frankly, aren't available if you're simply looking at series props or if you're betting on individual games, right? Where you make your big money is in props like the NBA Finals MVP. Well, folks, the best center in the game is Joker. Trust me when I say it's not close. We thought it was impressive when a point guard, Russell Westbrook, averaged a triple-double over a season. Try doing that from the center position. Joker missed doing that by an eyelash. If you were fortunate enough to get Joker as Western Conference Finals MVP, you're in the catbird seat right now because Denver just made the Western Finals. Right? Well, just understand, there's no one close in the league in terms of the value to their team. Right? LeBron has AD. Jason Tatum has Jaylen Brown. Right? Joel Embiid, the MVP winner, has James Harden. We'll get back to him. Right now, you and I know that Joker has Jamal Murray. In fact, let's go further. The Denver Nuggets are loaded. Right? We know Michael Porter can literally take over a game on some nights. Right? We understand that Aaron Gordon, who went to Mitty, the local high school here in West San Jose where I am, we know that he's a defensive stud who could shut down a lot of scorers. In some ways, he's like Dennis Rodman. But just understand, the public doesn't know that. They view Denver as a one-man team. And quite frankly, if you look at the stat sheet, the offense runs through Joker. So Joker has an advantage. Guys like Tatum, who, by the way, is getting the shortest odds for NBA Finals MVP, has. Right? If Denver wins their first NBA title, right, folks, the Finals MVP is almost certain to be the man who was within an eyelash of averaging a triple-double. Right, folks? Don't just look at the box score from Denver's last game, their closeout game against Phoenix. Look at the box score before that. Look at the box score before the box score before that. If you want to know who Joker is, now that Mark Jackson has been outed as an ignoramus who didn't even have Joker on his MVP ballot, right? Listen to his comments. Now that they've shined some sunlight on him, he's had to admit that Joker is among the top 10 centers, not this year, not this decade, but in NBA history. You're getting, believe it or not, you're getting Joker to be NBA Finals MVP. And understand, Denver has home court for the Western Conference Finals, whether that's against 6th seed Golden State or whether that's against 7th seed LA. Right? You're getting Joker, believe it or not, at longer odds than you're getting Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum right now, who is not even in the Eastern Conference Finals yet, is going off at a plus 242. You're getting Joker, folks, at a plus 273. This is ridiculous. This line assumes that ignoramuses like Mark Jackson are actually involved in setting this line. It's ridiculous. Right? So Joker plus 273 to be Finals MVP needs to be part of your betting portfolio. Right? Just understand too, if you have no bets right now, none whatsoever, on Finals MVP, right? If Denver gets to the NBA Finals, just understand that you could bet money on Joker at plus 273 if the other side of the play was a plus 200, right? Someone on the team that Denver would play in the NBA Finals. You can reconfigure the betting proportion to profit if either happens, because they aren't even giving you Joker at a plus 200. They're giving you Joker at higher than that, a plus 273. Well, let's talk about some other plays, because these lines are ridiculous. Right? If you watch the first 3 quarters of yesterday's Boston-Philly game, you saw that Jaylen Brown literally can be the dominant player on the Boston Celtics. Right, folks? The Celtics are actually a tandem. Right? It's Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Right? Just understand, while Tatum's going off at a plus 242, you're getting a plus 890 on Jaylen Brown to be Finals MVP. Significantly better odds than the plus 242 you're getting on Jason Tatum. Right? That's much more tantalizing to me. A plus 890 is better than a plus 242. Well, let's talk about some other places to look. Now, you had an event happen late in the last Golden State LA game, right? Anthony Davis got hit around the head area by a forearm, right? Then he seemed to have a concussion. He needed a wheelchair to leave the court. Here he was blinking, looking dazed and confused. Now, I know the press is ripping him and stuff like that. Hey, we've seen concussions caused by far less. Sometimes you're just hit the right way. Right? I'm a boxing fan, and I've watched a lot of boxing matches where a guy gets hit and he's badly hurt. Suddenly he's on the canvas. Right now, we could talk about the Phantom Punch, the rematch, Ali Liston, right? I know there are a lot of people here who say, oh, gee, that's questionable, right? But what I want people to do is to look at Liston Leotis Martin, right? Where Sonny gets hit and you're thinking, come on now, he was hit, but he wasn't hit that hard. This must be a balance thing. And Sonny's out cold on the canvas. Let me tell you, Marvis Frazier saw his father, Joe Frazier, get hit by George Foreman, fearsome puncher. But the first few knockdowns, it looked like Frazier was just off balance. Right? These head injuries can pop up. Well, let me just say this. Are you certain that Anthony Davis is going to be 100% for Game 7? The question needs to be asked for a couple of reasons. Right? The first is that the Lakers somehow are favored in the game. Right? Anthony Davis needs a wheelchair to leave the court. Now, unless he's Paul Pierce, that wheelchair might be legitimate. When they're talking to Darvin Ham later and he says, oh, Davis has made a recovery. Is that a real recovery or is that a concussion protocol recovery? Where people around the team are saying, hey, we can't win without Anthony Davis. You can't be talking about our star player being dazed and confused. You need to sell this to the press as something minor. Is everyone on LA selling this as something minor because they need Davis out there on the court? The other problem is the team they're playing. I know Golden State was terrible on the road all year. I'm not saying otherwise. But my goodness, folks, they're the defending champion. Right? If there's a team in this league that isn't intimidated by being in the playoffs, being on the road in the playoffs, it's the Golden State Warriors. Right now, they have a streak that's in jeopardy. If you go back several of their playoff series, they've always won at least one game on the road. Right? Always. Let me just say, too, it's Game 6 that I'm talking about here. I mentioned Game 7. I'm already thinking ahead. Well, folks need to realize that Golden State was in an elimination game recently against the Sacramento Kings, arguably a better team than the Lakers. Right? De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, I'll take them over LeBron and AD these days. Right? If AD is less than 100%, and that's the way head injuries are, right? You get hit hard in the head, you say, hey, I can tough it out, I can make it happen, and then I'm just telling you, you're out there shelling yourself because your hand-eye coordination is not what you think it is. Well, just understand, if Golden State wins Game 6, as bad as Golden State has been on the road, folks, they are spectacular at home. Right? Also, there's history here. LeBron James was down 3-1 to these Golden State Warriors. Warrior Nation remembers this. came back, ruined everything. Came back, won that NBA Finals, right? Killed the narrative of Golden State, a team that had set the regular season win record, being considered the best team ever. Right? Had Golden State closed out LA in 5, and let's remember they were up 3-1, we'd be having the conversation. So Warrior Nation for Game 7, if it happens, is going to be out in force. They have the big villain, LeBron James, the guy who took them down when they were up 3-1. And this time it's for payback. So I'm looking at this NBA Finals MVP, right? And I see Steph Curry, who'll be facing possibly a diminished AD in Game 6, and then if there's a Game 7, would be at home against LA. Right? If they win Game 7, then the Warriors get to the Western Conference Finals against Joker in Denver. I'm looking here and I see Steph Curry at better than 10-1 odds to be Finals MVP. Folks, you know, and I know, Golden State has very significant players. Right? Draymond has looked spectacular. Wiggins is underrated. He's a defensive stopper. Right? Guys like Jordan Poole, understand Jordan Poole led the league in free throw percentage one year. Right? Of course, there's Clay, who, when he's hot, he can carry the team. Right? I understand Golden State has a lot of people. It's a team effort. But you and I know if the Golden State Warriors win the NBA championship, something that's happened recently, the MVP for this squad is going to be Steph Curry. Right? If you're a Sacramento King fan, you understand that Steph Curry threw down 50 against you. Right? That he was the dynamite, the nuclear option for the Golden State Warriors. Now I see Steph Curry going off at 10-1. He only has to win 2 games. Right? One against a team that just had a star player leave in a wheelchair. Right? He has to win 2 games to get to the conference finals. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. I don't even have to put a lot of money on Steph Curry. This is speculative. Right? I'm not saying the Warriors get there. But it's possible. Right? The stars seem to be aligning. Also, this is underreported. I said here before, I didn't think LeBron was 100%. You know, LeBron tweaked his ankle yesterday. Now, LeBron, especially this time of year in the playoffs, he's the kind of guy who could have bullet wounds. And he would put bandages on the wounds so that the blood does not show up on his jersey, and he'd be out there playing. Right? LeBron is like a Kobe. If he can walk, he's going to be out there playing in a playoff game. Right? This is some Jack Youngblood stuff. If you remember the guy with a broken leg who played in a Super Bowl. Right? LeBron's not 100%. He's one of the best at slashing to the basket and bowling over guys and getting layups. You're noticing he's not even slashing to the basket that much. He's settling for threes. So LA, I give them credit. Right? They've already won in Golden State. Right? They have played tough basketball. But they're not 100%. The door is open for Steph Curry. No one seems to notice the door's open. Steph Curry at 10-1, and he's just 2 games away from the Western Conference Finals. I'll take that. Now let's talk about the most intriguing play on the board. People disagree with me. Certainly the Mark Jacksons of the world disagree with me. And understand, I'm a fan of Mark Jackson's, right? Went to St. John's, the local school in Queens, right? This is just a Queens boy calling out another Queens boy. But I need for people to understand, in the real world where things actually matter, the guy who on the road, without Joel Embiid, in Boston, lifted his team to a Game 1 win in this series. The guy who led the league in assists, he's the assist leader. I keep hearing about the scoring leader. What about the assist leader on the team? Right? James Harden, to me, is the most valuable 76er. Right? I could hear that Joel Embiid is going to miss the next game. I'd say, okay, well, they still have a chance. Right? If I heard James Harden's out the next game, it's a wrap. Even I'm saying, hey, what are these futures props on the Boston Celtics? Right? Sorry, Knicks fans, and I'm a Knicks fan. Sorry, Heat fans, and I'm a Butler fan. I don't see the Knicks or the Heat getting by the winner of Boston Philly. Right? Well, James Harden, who, understand too, he's like Joker. When he comes out and he dominates, you look at the stat sheet and you're looking at numbers that are close, if not at, a triple-double. Right? There are parts of Harden's game, he's not just a scorer. This is the full stat sheet. Right now, because we're still engaged in the fantasy that Joel Embiid is the MVP of the league, even though he plays with the assist leader, even though really some of his numbers are a creation of James Harden's. Right? Just like Magic helped James Worthy's stat line, helped Kareem's stat line. Right? Just to understand, James Harden has helped Embiid win the scoring title the last 2 years. Well, let me just say this. Philly's a weird team. I understand there are many out there who say, hey, Doc Rivers can't win these big games in the playoffs. Let's remember that Doc does have a ring. Right? James Harden's the kind of guy who, if the team recognizes that he's the Batman, that Embiid is Robin, if Embiid gets out the way, quite frankly, James Harden's the kind of guy who could lift Philly to a Game 7 victory. Again, these are the speculative plays. This is high risk, high reward. Now, apparently the people in Vegas and Atlantic City, wherever casinos are, Macau, they don't realize this. It's as if James Harden doesn't exist. You're getting 38-1 odds, folks. 38-1 on James Harden to be your finals MVP. Understand, if Philly beats Boston, Philly was ahead in the series, foolishly lost Game 6 in Philly. Philly's competitive with Boston. Philly's already beaten Boston in Boston this playoff series. If Philly beats Boston, they would have home court for the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Giannis, Milwaukee, they were sent home in the first round, right? Just understand that when you know what hits the fan, when the bullets are flying, James Harden is at least as valuable to the Sixers as Joel Embiid is. Understand too, when you're getting a 38-1, so if I put down $1 on James Harden, I'm looking at possible winnings of $38, right? Just understand, that I can then hedge the play. Right? So if I wait, I don't take Steph Curry at 10-1. Right? And let's say Golden State shocks the world, beats LA, right? Comes back, beats LA, then beats the 1 seed, Denver. Right? Let's say I don't take advantage of the 10-1 on Steph Curry. Then it's Golden State against Philly in the finals. Understand, if I've gotten 38-1 on James Harden, not only could I put some money on Steph Curry, hell, I could even put some money on Joel Embiid and make a profit if any of those outcomes happen. Right? So take a hard look. It's rare that Vegas is giving you 38-1 odds on a guy with 3 scoring titles who's already put up over 40 in a game in this playoff series. Now, hear me clearly here. Here's my disclaimer. I'm not saying that I believe Philly is going to beat Boston in Game 7. I'm not saying that at all. Right? Hell, if I was saying that, why would I throw a plus 890 at Jaylen Brown? Right? But what I'm saying is, folks, the market's mispriced this. Philly's already won in Boston. Right? That Game 7's up in the air. That's a jump ball. Quite frankly, Game 6, Philly had the lead midway through the fourth quarter. Right? They finished poorly in that game. That's a competitive series. But what I am saying is, when you see things like a 38-1 on James Harden, and the series is tied 3-3, and you understand that James Harden is one of the most valuable players on the Philadelphia 76ers. He's the assist leader. Right? Joel Embiid's not 100%. He has a knee problem. Could you imagine if Embiid misses games in the NBA Finals, if Philly makes it there, right, beats the lower seeded Heat, most likely, or the Knicks, ends up in the finals. Joel Embiid misses a game. James Harden gets over 40, as he did in this series against Boston. Right? Philly wins that game. Then James Harden leads the team in assists the rest of the series, pops in an occasional triple-double. Folks, you would be in position to hit on a 38-1, and you'd be thinking, wow, how did they ever offer this line this late in the playoff season? Likewise in the Western Conference. If Golden State comes out, right, and they're playing a team from their division that they know well, if Golden State comes out and starts draining threes, right, Warrior fans know what I'm talking about. Right? Splash Brothers both have over 10 points, and you're looking, and it's not even halfway through the second quarter. Right? The threes are hitting. And they know who they're playing, right? D'Angelo Russell used to be a Warrior, for crying out loud. Right? There is a possibility, especially if AD comes out, isn't even taking shots, which happens at times with AD. Right? There might be a lack of urgency with the Lakers because it's Game 6, it's not Game 7. Right? And you and I know, in the real world, if you have the Warriors on the ropes, you need to take them out. Because if they have any life, if you remember a few years ago, Houston had the Warriors on the ropes. Steph Curry was terrible deep in the playoffs. Had hardly scored. You got to the second half, and suddenly Steph Curry was hitting everything with a nylon net. Right? If the Warriors come out and beat the Lakers in Game 6, good luck trying to beat the Warriors in San Francisco in Game 7, especially when You have LeBron James, who did this before. He accomplished that feat. Him and Kyrie accomplished that feat. And I'm just telling you, that's a wound that is still unhealed in Warrior Nation. Right? You're telling me that Steph Curry is 2 games away from the Western Conference Finals, and I'm getting 10-1 on history's only unanimous MVP? On a guy who, in a Game 7, dropped 50 against Sacramento? You got to be kidding me. So, of all of these bets, Joker's foundational, because Joker's the most likely to happen. I believe Denver is the best team in the Western Conference this year. I believe they showed you that when they put up 80 in the first half against Phoenix. I don't care who was hurt on Phoenix. Phoenix was a playoff team. Right? Denver comes out, the guns were blazing. I don't believe there's a team in this conference that can touch Denver when they're playing like that. I believe Joker simply some nights is like Mike, unstoppable. I mean, unstoppable. Right? Joker plus 273. I'm sorry, hasn't this brother won 2 of the last 3 MVPs? Wasn't he in second place this year? And you and I know the second was a joke, right? And you mean to tell me they're giving me better odds than I would get on Jason Tatum? Has Tatum won an MVP? Come on. The Joker plus 273 is a must. For hardcore speculators, Jaylen Brown plus 890. Tatum could well walk away with the MVP. All I'm saying is I'm getting much better odds with Jaylen Brown. Curry plus 1046, right? 10.46 to 1. And James Harden 38 to 1. Folks, to me, those are better plays than any head-to-head matchup series prop. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this YouTube video. Understand this is just for risk takers. I'll concede. Clearly, a Draymond Green, who in that Game 7 years ago, when LeBron and the Cavs won Game 7 in Golden State to take the NBA title. That game, if you look at the box score, you'll see that Draymond put up over 30 that game. Right? Certainly the voters could pick a Draymond Green. They can pick a Porter, a Jamal Murray to be Finals MVP. Right? Malcolm Brogdon of the Boston Celtics is one of the few in NBA history who went a year 40, 50, 90. Right? There's certain Celtics who could step up and suddenly grab the imagination. Right? If Joker's slowed down by Robert Williams, some voters are going to say, hey, are we going to give defense some love this year? Certainly there are players not on this list who could easily be Finals MVP. Right? That's the risk we're taking. If Golden State wins the Finals, I want my money on Curry. Right? If Denver wins the Finals, I want my money on Joker. If Philly wins the Finals, and this is the controversial one, I want my money on James Harden. The casino this year is giving you up to 38 to 1 odds. Right? For the James Harden pick, for example. That's where I'm looking right now. Understand, too, as the world changes, my outlook's going to change. Right? I saw AD leave the last Laker game in a wheelchair. Right? If AD comes out and he looks like a world beater, all right. I'll look at the Lakers more closely. If I see LeBron charging to the rim as if he were a Miami Heat back in the day, okay. My assessment's going to change if that happens. Right? But based on what I know now, Joker plus 273, Jaylen Brown plus 890. Curry plus 1046. James Harden 38-1. That's plus 3,800 in American odds. I like those plays. Let me hear yours. Let me hear your insight, whether they involve these players or you have a special player who you're looking at, right? You think Austin Reeves is actually the secret sauce for the Lakers, and that MVP voters recognize that, and the Lakers, a 7th seed, are underrated. Tell us the direction you want to take this conversation in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.